All right, praise be unto Yahweh. Today, something we've been discussing is who we are, and we've shown that and exploited that a little bit for a little bit. But now let's show how we are to act. How are the holy, righteous, and just sheep assembly, royal priesthood, or sacerdotal order are to mind themselves and behave. So we've been looking at characteristics and things of that nature. So this will coincide and pick up where we left off last week with our characteristics of how to present ourselves, how to behave. Could say that this would be entitled righteous speaking, what we're to say or not to say. We'll just take a look at the verse here and see what's happening. Psalms 12:2. They speak vanity, every one with his neighbor, with flattering lips, and with a double heart do they speak. Now we know that the word should be translated mind, double mind. The heart gets into the essence of the mind is how you feel, it's how you gravitate towards feeling with people and interacting. Flattering lips, boy, every time I hear people say, a nice comment is always welcome, but when they start trying to fluff my pillow for me and really work at talking me up, I've got to get concerned. I got to say, hey, these people are trying to puff up my ego here or something. And that is also a gauge that I use for realizing who's who in the neighborhood. Somebody say, oh, hey, that was really good. There's another thing, say, oh, you're the best thing since sliced bread. You're so wonderful. And you start thinking you're going to start floating away. You feel so good. Well, feelings are deceitful. But this verse coincides with what the Brit Hadashah says in James 1:8, or rather, Jacob 1:8. James 1:8. Jacob 1:8. Being a double-minded man, unstable in all his ways. Double heart from Psalms 22:2. Double heart, double mind. James, rather Jacob says double-minded man. Double-minded. So we see that somebody has got two different lines of thinking and two different ways of doing things, two different things of speaking, is unstable in all their ways. Again, the Tanakh and the Brit Hadashah coincide. They're not two different teachings like some, and I like to show how they're cohesive. That's what I'm about. I like to show the cohesiveness between the two covenants. I like to show the oneness of that, the oneness of Yah. They fluent, they go together, they flow. Like brethren, when they get together, they flow. So, with that, a double-minded person is unstable in all their ways. Always. Not just a few things. I'll give you an example. Something like apple pie. And then somebody says, oh boy, I love apple pie. And that person just said they don't like it. Oh, now I love apple pie. That's my favorite thing. You say, this other person said they like it. Now this person said they didn't. Now they do because they're just agreeing with this one. So the next person that comes along, they're going to agree with. You can't agree with everybody. You can't go with the flow and say, I'm yea. Well, 2 minutes later, I'm nay. I'm yea, I'm nay. Yeshua tells us, let your yes be yes, let your no be no. Anything other than this is of the evil one. And James repeats this. He reiterates this later on. Ephesians 4:29. Ephesians 4:29. Ephesians 4:29. Let no corrupt communication proceed out of your mouth, but that which is good to the use of edifying, that it may minister grace unto the hearers, favor unto the hearers, edifying. We're to build up, not tear down. Now this is a different thing towards you bash your hand with a hammer and you start cursing at it. I believe that's a different thing. We're not to be speaking vile things, and particularly towards people. You call yourself a fool because you smashed your thumb. Shouldn't be doing that. But we shouldn't let it get to us either. It's a thing, it's an object, and it's an object of aggression at that point. However, do not let it be your downfall. Do not let those things catch you off guard and ensnare you, because even cursing a hammer could turn around and could be the beginning of your undoing. So we need to be mindful that we're not going to be building up a hammer for any reason or any way, shape, or form, but people. So Yeshua tells us, do not call your brother a fool. That is a brethren. That's not everyone. When you see somebody acting like a fool or a heretic, you find them like that, you leave them like that. Simple as that. So we're to build up the hearers. Now again, faith is in Yah, and He'll restore and rectify everything in due season. Colossians 4:6. Colossians 4:6. Sorry, we're going to bounce around a little bit today and prove all things, hold fast that which is good. So we're definitely in topical mode today. Colossians 4:6. Let your speech always be with grace. That is, say favor. Seasoned with salt, that you may know how you ought to answer each one. Remember, we went through it some weeks ago that Yeshua says that we are the salt of the earth. If the salt loses its flavor, how will it be seasoned again? The things that we say need to come from the heart, come from the mind, come from who we are, and the things that we say matters a lot. It really points to the person that we are, and it really points to, are we living a righteous life of Yahweh? Or are we going along with a run amok, doing what the Christians do, doing what the heathens do, doing what every other atheist does? Or are we set aside and separate? It's easy to slice somebody down. So easy to tear somebody down. You don't even have to try. I mean, it can be as simple as, what were you thinking? I couldn't really slice into somebody after they realize what they've done. So we need to be seasoned. It means we're not going to add salt into our mouth or try to salt our words, but we're going to try to flavor our words. Pick and choose your wording. When I was younger, I'd say the first thing that came to mind, no problem. And usually it made people pretty mad. It really did. A lot of people say, well, that's good. Good for you. You speak your mind. Well, as I got older, I realized not so good. I'm putting a lot of people to flight. Granted, I spoke truth the best that I knew things, but at the same time, I beat them right away from me. Turned them right off from me, my family, Yahweh. How good is that? How righteous is that? That's not very good at all. So nowadays, I try to consider, how am I going to word this? I know the statement that I need to make. Now I just got to articulate the words and make it sound intelligent so that it is perceived right, so that it is received in the way that it needs to be. I'm not going to water down the truth, no way, shape, or form, but I'm going to put it to people as gently as possible, whatever the situation is. Sometimes people say, oh, I messed up. You could either say, yeah, but you can go like this and rectify it and do like that. Or you can beat on it. You dumb Jamal, what's the matter for you? And slice them down. That's not edifying them, is it? So we need to edify and build up. Now we take a look at Romans 3:9 through 18. Just let me know when you're there. We'll take a look at some of these verses and then we'll break it down. What then? Are we better than they? No, in no wise. For we have before proved, both Jews and Gentiles, that they are all under sin. As it is written, there is none righteous, no, not one. There is none that underneath, there is none that seeks after Elohim. They're all gone out of the way. They are together become unprofitable. There is none that does good, no, not one. Their throat is an open sepulchre. With their tongues they have used deceit. The poison of asps is under their lips, whose mouth is full of cursing and bitterness. Their feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are in their ways. And the way of peace have they not known. There is no fear of Yahweh before their eyes. And when you realize that there is no fear of Yahweh, you know that people are in bad shape. They're in critical condition at this point in time, spiritually. Physically, they're not far behind. Because once the demons come in there and start taking over, the body starts slowly shutting down. So let's go back, take a look at this. Talking about, no, there's none that's righteous. Talking about, no, righteous people. And let's go to none does good. Talking about these people here, the Jews, the Gentiles, and these people that have fallen astray. Now let's take a look at this. and deep. 13. Their throat is an open sepulchre. And we know what a sepulchre is. It's a grave. That's where they put the dead body. Their tongue is used as deceit. The poison of asps is under their lips. Now maybe you're saying to yourself, what is asps? Well, kind of like a used of a serpent. It's poison. It's not good. It's a really bad thing to have that, and to think that things that we speak can be vile, can be uncertain, deprivation. We can speak all these things, and they're essentially poison, as of a serpent. These are things that are no good and not profitable to Yahweh. And I know it's a hard thing to not let the enemy overcome and get in your way with what not to say or how much to say. To be mindful of this, that the things that we spew out of our mouth can very, very easily be deadly poison, not for others, but for ourselves. And that's never where we want to be. And once you have that, feet are swift to shed blood. Destruction and misery are their ways. We see all the things that are fallen after these people that don't adhere to Yahweh and to his ways. Now we'll look at a couple verses back in James. Yaakov 1:19 and 20. James 1:19 and 20. James 1:19 and 20. This you know, my beloved brethren, but everyone must be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. For the anger of a man does not achieve the righteousness of Elohim. You see that? It says, my beloved brethren. Everyone must be quick to hear. We need to be quick to hear the truth, hear what somebody's got to say. People say, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I've said it myself. I've said it before. I don't want to hear it. And you know, I might have turned off truth. I might have turned off understanding what somebody was going through and how I could help them. But instead, turned a deaf ear to it. Let that not be us. Let us keep that in mind. We need to be slow to speak. So quick to hear, quick to listen. Listen, pay attention. That's how you're going to know who's who. When you're jibber-jattering, chattering away like a squirrel with a sack full of walnuts, you know, how's that going to serve you? You're not going to hear anything. You're not going to get understanding. You're not going to glean any information, going on and on and on. And there's people I know that talk a mile a minute, probably even faster than that, and they hear nothing. When you say something, yup, and they're like a typewriter on adrenaline boost or something, just going crazy, crazy fast. They hear nothing, but that's all they do is speak. And we can't be like that. The true followers of Yahweh Elohim cannot be quick to speak and slow to hear. But also compact that with, we need to be slow to anger. There is a difference between righteous anger, which eventually kindles slowly. The anger of a man does not achieve the righteousness of Elohim. So we see and we know that anger does not benefit or edify or praise or bless Yahweh at all. It really doesn't. It doesn't do anything for him. It doesn't build the kingdom. It doesn't help at all. Now let us take a look at a similar verse that David said back in Proverbs chapter 8, verse 7. 8:7. Proverbs 8:7. Here we go. For my mouth shall speak truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. Wow, isn't that a powerful, powerful message? For my mouth shall speak truth, wickedness is an abomination to it. That is amazing. That's a wonderful thing to see. Even back in the Old Covenant, they knew the things that we speak has serious consequence. So we need to remember the things that we hear, not let it kindle our anger quickly, and to be slow to speak. And the things that we speak must be righteous, not wickedness. We can talk about all kinds of wickedness and perversion and every kind of abominable, damnable heresy all day long. But when we exploit it and for profit or for gain or for pleasure, that's wickedness. It's wickedness. Yes, there's going to be times that people are going to come to you and they're going to talk about some personal stuff. And, you know, there's a fine line between discussing personal matters and exploiting them for wickedness' sake. And if you're wondering what I'm referring to, sometimes married couples have some problems, and they discuss sexual problems and things like that. One needs to keep in mind, whoever's doing the counseling, that it needs to be on a fine line of what's being said, so that it's not being an exploited factor, because it can become wickedness real quick, particularly like in premarital counseling and things like that. People need to be aware of what's what and things like that. Now if we go over to Proverbs 11 verse 2, 11:2, Proverbs 11:2, he who troubles in his own house will inherit wind, and the foolish will be servant of the wise-hearted. If we skip down to verse 30 and 31, it says, the fruit of the righteous is a tree of life, and he who is wise wins souls. If the righteous will be rewarded in the earth, how much more the wicked and the sinner. Again, this comes down to what we say. Are you going to speak righteousness or wickedness? And these are the things that we need to. Do we want to inherit wind? Do we want to inherit the lake of fire? I don't think so. Or do you want to inherit the fruit of the tree of life, which Yeshua talks about at the beginning of Revelation chapter 2. Proverbs 15:2. Proverbs 15:2 says, the tongue of the wise makes knowledge acceptable, but the mouth of fools spouts folly. Verse 4. Proverbs 15:4. A soothing tongue is a tree of life, but perversion in it crushes the spirit. Now we're getting down to, like our old teacher used to say, where the rubber meets the road here, because this is saying some deep stuff here. The wise makes knowledge acceptable, but fools spout follies. Fools spew trash and garbage. You can see these filthy mouth comics, these people that call themselves stand-up comedians. They're about as worthless as a day is long on a hot summer day in the middle of a desert, spewing all kinds of vile perverseness, every kind of heresy. They're making fun of everything and exploiting everything: drugs, sex, rock and roll, and every other kind of thing that can make vile. And verse 4 says, but perversion in it crushes the spirit. Does that sound familiar to anyone? 1 Thessalonians 5:19. 1 Thessalonians 5:19 says, do not quench the spirit. Isn't that amazing? Centuries later, centuries apart, still saying the same thing, worded slightly different. Perversion crushes the spirit. Do not quench the spirit. Well, what's that telling you? Telling you, do not be perversion. Do not be of any kind of a perverse tongue. Do not spew or spout perverseness. Let us gather a little more understanding from Proverbs. Proverbs 18:7. Proverbs 18:7. Proverbs 18:7. A fool's mouth is his destruction, but his lips are the snare of his soul. You see that? A fool's mouth brings him nothing but destruction. His lips are the snare of his soul. His lips are going to send him right into the lake of fire. Do you see that? Do you see how simple that is? We're coming to an end. We haven't got very much longer, so please hold tight. We're coming to an end here. About a half dozen more verses to go, and we'll be through here. And I believe it'll be a blessing to you once we're all done. So hold on. We're almost on Psalms 12:4. Psalms 12:4. Who have said with our tongue we will prevail? Our lips are our own. Who is master over us? Now this is a key thing. Who is the master over us? Who is the master over us? Now you'll have a real good idea who's who by the fruits that they bear, but also the things that they say. If they can't say anything but perversion and every other kind of heresy and things like that, then we know whose their father is, won't we? Our lips are of our own, but who is master over them? Who is master over us? Yahweh. And he'll set a guard on us to help us take every thought captive, and so that He'll put a seal or a block on our mouth so that we do not say the wrong things or anything. Ephesians 4:25. Ephesians 4:25. Ephesians 4:25. Wherefore, putting away lying, speak every man truth with his neighbor, for we are members one of another. So we need to be acutely aware that we need to put away lying. We need to put away these kinds of deceitful things to say and speak. Every man, everyone needs to speak truth with his neighbor. Kind of reminds you of you shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. On Exodus 20, do not bear false witness against your neighbor. Speak truth. Speak truth with his neighbor. For we are members one of another. And we're going to talk about this member and membership and all this sort of stuff and see all about that down the road. Not that membership is an official thing, but a spiritual thing. Just to give you a little insight of what's to come down the road. Job 9:20. Job 9:20. We're coming to the end, so please hold tight. Job 9:20. Job 9:20. If I justify myself, mine own mouth shall condemn me. If I say I am perfect, it shall also prove me perverse. Does this not draw to your mind when Yeshua didn't say anything in his defense? He said nothing. He used their words. He quoted their words. And that was all he said. He didn't try to justify. He didn't try to lie. He didn't try to deny. He didn't say anything. But he did tell us when they deliver you up, he says the Ruach will give you what to say at that moment. Don't premeditate on it. But anyway, if we try to justify ourselves, our mouth will condemn us. How many times have you had something happen with family, friends, or the law? You're witness to something, and the more that you speak, the more that you're burying yourself. You're as innocent as anything, but the more that you speak, the worse it seems to get. Rather, this is why I've learned to let others speak for me. I'm not trying to puff myself up. I'm not going to end up condemning myself, and I'm not going to try to justify or rectify myself. Now we'll take a look at Proverbs 11:9. Proverbs 11:9. Proverbs 11:9. A hypocrite with his mouth destroys his neighbor, but through knowledge shall the just be delivered. Do you see that? A hypocrite. A person is double-minded and unstable in all their ways. A hypocrite goes back and forth. I like this apple pie. I don't like this apple pie. I'm this, I'm that. Wet, dry, so forth. That mouth would destroy his neighbor. But through knowledge shall the just be delivered. We know the beginning of knowledge is under the spirit of Yahweh Elohim. The just shall be delivered. Now our final segment on this. A few more verses in this part. Bridle the lips and the mouth. This is what we're to do. How to take every thought captive. 2 Kings 19:28. 2 Kings 19:28. 2 Kings 19:28. Because thy rage against me and thy tumult is come up into mine ears, therefore I will put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back by the way by which thou camest. You see that? Here's a bridle happening here. A bridle in my lips. Turn you away. A bridle helps guide you. Also helps keep that mouth shut a little bit too. It has a good purpose. Now Psalm 32:9 says, Psalm 32:9, but you are not as the horse or as the mule, which have no understanding, whose mouth must be held in with bit and bridle, but they come near unto thee. It says we're not as a horse or as a mule. It says not having no understanding. We have understanding, whose mouth must be held with a bit and bridle. They're not all that different there. We still need to have that mouth guided and watched over. Isaiah 37:29. Isaiah 37:29. Isaiah 37:29 says, because thy rage against me, and thy tumult is come up into mine ears. Therefore will I put my hook in thy nose, and my bridle in thy lips, and I will turn thee back by the way by which thou camest. Bridle in the Hebrew 49:64 means, from the unused root meaning to curb. You catch that? To curb. We need to have Yahweh curb what we say before we start cursing and blasting and lighting somebody up. Say, oh, yeah, give me the words to speak. Help me keep my mouth shut. Give me the words to speak. Give me the words not to speak. Help keep my lips sealed. Bridle my lips. Curb what I say, Yah. You see this? Final 2 verses here. Are you with me? Hallelujah. James 3:2 and 3. Jacob 3:2 and 3. Final 2 verses. James 3:2-3. James 3:2-3. For in many things we offend all. If any man offend not inward, the same is a perfect man, and able also to bridle the whole body. Behold, we put bits in the horses' mouths, that they may obey us, and we turn about their whole body. Oh, let's catch this again. For in many things we offend all. We can offend, even not even saying anything, but especially when we speak. If any man offend not in word, the same is a perfect man. See, we need to reach with perfection. We need to be mindful what we say and what we don't say. Sometimes not say anything. And able to bridle the whole body. Well, so I can keep my mouth shut, but if I haul off and punch somebody in the nose, is that any good? Certainly not, is it? So we need to bridle the tongue, the mouth, in the whole body. Remember what that means? To curb. Yahweh, curb me. Curb my mouth, curb my mind, curb my body. Get me away from evil. Curb me from this. Guide me from this. And that will help turn the whole body around. This, of course, is looking to Yahweh to guide us. Not going to put any bits or bridles in our mouth, literally, but spiritually, His word will be there. So that concludes His message for this early Shabbat. So I thank you and I praise Yahweh for each and every one of you. And may Yahweh bless you and keep you. Yahweh make His face shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May Yahweh lift up His countenance upon you and give you shalom. Hallelujah.